This video is for anyone who is praying for Nigeria. It's for anyone who cares about the year 2027 as far as Nigeria is concerned. And you don't have to be a politician to be interested. If you are, I mean, that's great. I mean, this video will help you. It's important that even in just in life generally, that when you make your plans, you know what the weather, whether the weather is going to be favorable, you know what it should look like. That's why, Google is helping with, weather forecasts to let you know what the weather is going to look like in case you want to travel, you want to go out, you want to have an outdoor program or, outdoor event. So it helps you to know what the weather is going to look like. And I think that it's important that, while we are talking about 2027, the big thing is to know what will this season look like. Because I can't say it enough, but there is seasons shape our lives. Seasons compel us to behave in certain ways. That's it. Seasons make us do certain. There are certain things that people don't want to do during the rainy season. There are things that you have to do during the rainy season. You don't want to do it when it's dry and all that. So seasons have a way of, regulating, the way things happen. So it's important that we understand seasons and then prepare for them. I want to, in this video, I'm going to be sharing something about the year 2027. And but I'm going to be giving focus as far as Nigeria is concerned, and it helps us to understand. Once again, I think anyone who is praying for this nation, intercessor, watchman, gatekeeper, prophet, whatever it is, you're concerned about this nation as far as 2027 is concerned, is, when it relates to 2027, you need to pay attention to what I have to say. You need to pay attention. The year, the 27th. So when I talk about the 27th, it's also about 2027. The 27th is about veiling and unveiling. I'm going to use that, veiling and unveiling. I want you to listen carefully so you'll be able to, understand where I'm going. And but I assure you that it will make sense when we get there. In the 27th season, and I'm going to show you patterns in the Word of God. Things are veiled. Things are veiled. That it will take the discerning. It will take the discerning to really see beyond the surface. It will take the discerning to see beyond the surface. And in Genesis chapter 27, I'm beginning to show you patterns. In Genesis 27, the story is that Isaac had become old, and his eyes were not as sharp as they used to be. He was losing his sight, or he had lost his sight. And now he wanted Esau, his firstborn, to prepare a meal for him so he could bless him before death. Now, Esau received the instruction and went out. He was a hunter. Went out to look for the kind of meat that would please his father, Isaac. So while he went to get the meat, hunt for the meat, Rebekah got Jacob and they prepared something. Of course, Rebekah had lived with Isaac and knows what he really likes and prepared it exactly. And then she sent Jacob to go and present the food to Isaac as if he was Esau. Joseph was concerned. How am I going to do that? He said, don't worry, I will take care of that. You just put on Esau's clothes. So you're going to veil your appearance. You're going to cover your appearance to avoid detection. To avoid detection. So this is what happens in the 27. There's a veiling. There are people who are going to put on veils and come to you. And if you are not discerning, this is what happens. You will fight your friends and you will eat with your enemies. That's what happens. Especially in these days of, defecting from one party to another and coalition and all kinds of things. I'm telling you, many are going to be dining with their enemies, and many are going to be fighting their friends. That's the politics of 2027. It's clear. So Jacob prepared the food and brought it to his dad. And his dad said, come, I want to feed you. Are you really Esau, my son? Why would he ask that question? Because the voice was sounding like Jacob's, not like Esau. He had just spoken to Esau and knew what Esau's voice, was like. And now there's another voice that just, you got the meat so quickly. People are defecting so quickly and joining, just doing things. And you're wondering, where are you coming from? Oh, no, we're together. So what? You just got this. He said, it's the Lord, your God that helped me to get this meat. That's why it's so, I got it so fast. And then, but he was having a check. The voice is Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. This is something that Nigerians who are interested in politics this time need to pay attention to. We are in a season of the voice is Jacob's. The voice is sounding like we are together. Or the voice is sounding like the other people. But the way they are doing things is like we're together. The voice is Jacob's. But the hands are the hands of Esau. That's confusion. So that's the season where we're. That's what the 27th season looks like. So many are going to be, people are going to be crossing parties and, just moving around. And they do it because one of the ways to destroy your enemy or to destroy the opposition is to infiltrate the rank of your opposition. Just infiltrate, find a way of entering inside. Iran was destroyed from, Iran was attacked from inside. That's the way it happens. One of the ways to destroy the enemy, destroy the enemy's infrastructure, you destroy the opposition's infrastructure, is to infiltrate the camp of the opposition. Or to infiltrate the camp of whoever. Once you can get to the camp of the other side, that's it. That's what David did to Absalom. As soon as his friend Hushai was coming to him, he said, no, you don't have to come to me. In 2 Samuel 7, you don't have to follow me. That's going to be, I need you to stay with Absalom. Stay with Absalom. And so Hushai was loyal to David. But he had to go to Absalom. And faked loyalty to Absalom. He pretended to be with Absalom. But truly he was David's man. So you have a lot of people just crossing the other, and it looks like, yes, things are happening. But I tell you, enemies are going to look like friends, and some friends are going to look like enemies. When Hushai entered the camp of Absalom, Absalom began to disagree with Ahithophel, who had pledged his life to help him. Ahithophel was truly his friend. But because Hushai had played the game so well, Absalom could no longer trust Ahithophel. That's what's happening. That's what's going to happen. In this season of the 2027 politics, a lot of people are going to welcome their enemies, embrace their enemies, and begin to eat with their enemies. And they will no longer trust their friends who had been with them. That's what's happening. The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau. Once you begin to have that kind of doubt, you check it very well. So that's what happened. Jacob was able to play the game so well with his mom, Rebecca, that they had to disguise, covered up Jacob so that Isaac will be confused. He will not be able to know. But all it takes, if Isaac had eyes to see, he was blind. If Isaac had eyes to see, he would have known that that's not Esau, but because he was blind. So one of the things that you pray in this season of election, 2027 election, is to pray that Nigerians will not be blindfolded. Nigerians will not be blind. That people will not be blind. Blindness, lack of discernment, lack of sensitivity is going to cost us a lot. Cost Nigerians a lot in this season. Okay, I'm going to take you to another pattern. I just showed you the Genesis 27 pattern for 2027. I'm going to show you another pattern. And this pattern is in 1 Samuel chapter 27. In 1 Samuel chapter 27, because of pressure from Saul, David said, I need to do something. I need to get out of this place. For my sanity, for safety, I need to leave the land of Israel. And so he fled to the land of Philistines. And so David went to the king of the Philistines, Achish, and pledged loyalty to him. David did not come out to serve the king of it. David was in his heart an enemy, arch enemy of Philistines. But this king of Philistines welcomed him. I'm talking about the 27th season. This is 1 Samuel 27. I just told you about Genesis 27. So we're now dealing with 1 Samuel 27. The king of the Philistines received David. And he was happy that an Israelite was defecting to him. He was so happy. He celebrated that. And he didn't know that David just needed asylum, not that he was interested in helping the Philistines. And while he was with the man, David will go out for a raid and he will kill Philistines and return and tell the man, I dealt with the children of Israel today. I dealt with them. He will kill all Philistines. There will not be one who will go to report what happened. Yet the man thought, yes, we have somebody on our side now. We're so happy we have David. David was with them on the surface. But beneath the surface, David was still an Israelite. So let nobody fool anyone with all the defections and all the things that you're seeing today. All that you're seeing today playing out. You need to be very discerning. You need to be very discerning. You need to wash your eyes like 4 times to be able to see and understand what is going on. If you are blind, you would not know what you will not know what is going on. You will know what is going on. How did it happen that Israel was able to corner about 20 top military officers in one place? It's blindness. In Iran, 20 top military officers of Iran, the Iranian regime, got them in one place at the same time and destroyed them. So you need very discerning. You need very discerning. And why it's so important? Why it's so important is because okay, let me get this, then I'll tell you the real thing, the background, the foundation of the spiritual foundation of a 27th season. I'm going to show you that. But I'm going to show you another pattern. Let me show you another pattern. This pattern is in Acts of Apostles chapter 27. But before I even get there, let me talk to you about the 27th book of the Bible. In the 27th book of the Bible, that's the book of Daniel. You see the same thing, veiling. Veiling. People want to cover up others, or just want to cover them up. So, in the book of Daniel, Daniel and his friends were captives. When they came, the Babylonians, the king of Babylon, gave them new names. Why give them new names? It's a kind of veiling. He said, I'm looking at a Hebrew, but he's bearing a Babylonian name. That's the same thing. The voice is Jacob's, but the hands of Esau. So the king of Babylon gave these Babylonian, people, Babylonian names. And they were to eat Babylonian food. And he also wanted them to learn Babylonian arts. At the end of the day, he was going to, cover up Hebrews and make them become Babylonians. So that at the end of the day, you will no longer see the Hebrew in them. So they're going to eat Babylon food, they're going to answer Babylonians, then they're going to learn Babylonian, they're going to get Babylonian education, and before you know it, they will start worshiping Babylonian gods. That was where the trouble started. No, we won't worship these gods. You can change our name, you can do whatever you can, but you're going too far with this. We can't follow to that end. So that's what happened. So you see in the 27th book of the Bible, you see the same thing happening. So these people came in as slaves, but they were really masters. Circumstances veiled them that these are captives. But you know that Daniel in the spirit was not a captive. He was only veiled. He was one man that the kings needed to discover. He came in as a captive. But God had to unveil them. When they began to live by their convictions and because of their loyalty to God, the veil began to tear off. How did you get this secret? There is a God in heaven that reveals secrets. God made them 10 times better than their mates. God was tearing the veil, tearing the things that Babylon had made. That's one of the things to pray in this season, oh Lord. Every covering that the enemy is that every covering that anybody is putting on this season, this 2027 election, this 2027 political season, let the veils be torn so that we can see people for who they are. Let veils be torn. Before we go too far, let veils be torn so that we can see who is who. Daniel retained his name. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they're all Babylonian names. But when it came to the real thing, they showed, no, we're not Babylonians, we are Hebrews. We are Hebrews. So that's one of our prayers, that in this season that veils will not work. Veils will not work. So that people will be seen. Think of it. If Isaac had seen Jacob, If Isaac's eyes were open, Jacob would not have done what he did. If the king of Achish, if the king of the Philistines knew, he would not have received David. If the Babylonians knew that these men, we can't change them, we can't change Daniel. No, 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 no. Daniel will still be who he is. You know, he faced all kinds of things. They want to, don't pray to anybody. They try to change Daniel, but Daniel, you can't. You can't. I will still pray to my God. I will still be loyal to my God. I don't care. I will still be there. So may God give us eyes to see people for who they are, rather than just listening to the voice and feeling their hands when you see them for who they are. May the veils be torn. I'm going to show you a fourth pattern for 2027. And this is the pattern in Matthew 27. In Matthew 27, where Jesus was crucified, we're told that as soon as Jesus, breathed his last, that the veil at the temple tore from top to bottom to expose what had been covered. Nobody could look into where the mercy seat was. Nobody could look into the Holy of Holies. But in the 27th chapter of Matthew, the veil tore. In this season, political season in Nigeria, we pray that the veil that is covering people, the veil that the wicked, the veil that people may have put on themselves, may tear, so that we see who is who. That's all we need to do. The situation right now is the voice of Jacob, but the hands of ESAU. Let me give you a fifth pattern, and that will be it. In Acts chapter 27, Paul was among the prisoners on board a ship sailing to Rome. Well, the circumstances have veiled him as one of the people, but nobody knew that. To have Paul traveling with you, that was something else. But the captain didn't know who was there. The captain. May God open the eyes of Nigerians to know who is who at this time. So Paul, we're told in Acts 27 that Paul spoke to the captain and all that and said that this journey will not go well. He told them this journey will not go well. But because they didn't know who he was, they didn't know what Paul represented. They said, well, they didn't listen to Paul. They did not. They didn't care about him. What do you know about selling? What do you know? Keep your mouth shut. What do you know? That's why I'm telling you that in this season, in the 27th season, people embrace their enemies and fight their friends. They should have welcomed Paul and said, yeah, what do you have to say? And he would have told them what to do. But they didn't have eyes to know. I pray that blindness will not overtake Nigerians in this season. That we're not deceived by the words of men, deceived by the appearance of men, deceived by the things that we're seeing, whether to the left or to the right. There is deception in the air. There's deception in the air. So you need a lot of revelation in this season to be able to, make it. And so So in Acts chapter 27, Paul spoke to them, but they didn't believe him. They didn't take him seriously. They didn't believe Paul until trouble began. When trouble started, Paul, in verse 9, now when much time had been spent and selling was now dangerous because the fast was already over, Paul advised them and said, brethren, he said, men, I perceive that this voyage will end with disaster and much loss, not only of the cargo and ship, but also our lives. Nevertheless, the centurion was more persuaded by the helmsman and the owner of the ship than the things spoken by Paul. Believe for who is he? Because there was a veil covering him. They thought he was just one of the prisoners. Oh Lord, in this season, help us to know the difference. Help us to know the difference. That we're not just listening to words, we're not just looking at men, we're not just looking at the appearance of men, but help us in looking at men to know the difference, to know who is who. They should have known Paul at this time. When everything was almost gone, Paul said, you should have listened to me. In verse 21, but after long abstinence from food, then Paul stood in the midst of them and said, men, you should have listened to me and not have sailed from Crete and incurred this disaster and loss. And now I urge you, take heart, for there will be no loss of life among you, but only of sheep. Now they were willing to listen. But you say you should have listened to me. You see, it's all about being able to discern, being able to know, read between the lines. Well, I said I was going to tell you something about the foundation that, steers things in the 20s, in the 27th season. The 27th is the sixth in the fourth seven. Now, being a sixth, it means it's a season of conflict. The election of 2027 is going to be 2027 in Nigeria is going to be a season of intense spiritual warfare. But the victory will belong to the sensitive, the one who will wage war with counsel. The victory will belong to the one who will listen. In the sixth book of the Bible, Israel didn't have the population, but they defeated the Canaanites. They defeated the Canaanites because they had a strategy. They had strategy from heaven. The Canaanites had the numbers, they had the chariots, they had the horses. But Israel had divine strategy. At the time, God will say you just need to walk around the city. God will tell them what to do. So I pray that the Lord will use this to help us who are in Nigeria or who are praying for Nigerians at this time. That I have done this just to bring a prophetic direction, to bring a prophetic word, to give guidance, concerning our nation and the season that we're moving in. And I trust that this is helpful to you. And if it is helpful to you, then, let's know in the comment section. Say something. Let's know how, what this means to you. And if it means a lot to you, if it's good, share it with somebody. And subscribe to this channel for more good things that are coming. God bless you.